I've seen so many people go for the cheap, flat-pack bookshelves that look great on the showroom floor, only to end up with wobbling shelves, cracked panels, and a whole lot of regret after the first time they try to stack a few heavier books or a bottle of wine. That "I should have spent a little more" feeling is what makes me pause before I click Add to Cart on any furniture piece. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. With the FURUIM2024M Sweeper Foundation Cabinet, the question is whether it actually saves you from that disappointment or just adds another pricey item to the living room. When I first saw this tall cabinet, I imagined it filling a blank wall in my home office and also acting as a mini wine cellar for a few special bottles. The first hesitation was the price tag. It's certainly not a budget-friendly option, and you can easily find a cheaper wall bookcase for half the cost. But the cheap alternatives often come with thin plywood, flimsy hardware, and limited load capacity. The FURUIM2024M promises sturdy and long-lasting construction, solid wood panels, and a design that leans against the wall for a modern, slightly avant-garde look. If you're the type who worries that your furniture will sag under the weight of your collection, that promise alone is worth a closer look. Let's talk about real-world usage. I set this cabinet up in a living room that already has a sofa, a coffee table, and a small media console. Because it leans, it doesn't require floor anchoring like a freestanding tower, which is a relief if you're renting or don't want to drill into your walls. The top shelf is high enough to accommodate a decorative lamp or a small plant, while the lower sections are deep enough for larger coffee table books, a few board games, and even a compact wine cooler unit that fits snugly behind the back panel. I actually placed a 12-bottle wine rack inside, and the cabinet held it without any creaking or wobble. That kind of versatility is what the versatile claim translates to in practice. You can store media, core, and a modest wine collection all in one piece, keeping the floor space relatively clear. The ample storage capacity is another selling point that shows up when you actually open the doors. The cabinet has 3 adjustable shelves on each side, plus 2 doors that swing open to reveal a hidden compartment. I found the ability to move the shelves a few inches up or down very handy for accommodating taller items, something you rarely see in cheaper models that have fixed, low-profile shelves. Because the wood is solid, the doors close with a satisfying solid thunk rather than a cheap plastic click, and the hinges feel robust enough to survive daily use. Now, no piece of furniture is perfect. The first practical downside I noticed is the sheer size. This is a tall cabinet, roughly 6 feet high, and it takes up a decent amount of wall length. If you're living in a studio apartment or have a small hallway, you'll need to measure carefully to make sure it doesn't dominate the space. It also weighs a lot out of the box. The solid wood construction means you'll probably need a second pair of hands for assembly, or consider professional help if you're not comfortable with a few bolts and a level. The instructions are straightforward, but they assume a certain level of DIY confidence. Another consideration is the leaning design itself. While it looks sleek and saves floor space, it does rely on the wall for stability. If your wall is drywall without studs directly behind the contact point, you might need to add extra support brackets. That adds a small extra cost and a bit more effort, which cheap flat-pack alternatives often bypass entirely. In practice, though, once it's properly set against a stud, it feels stable and doesn't sway when you open the doors or place a heavy book on the top shelf. Who should buy the FURUIM2024M? If you're a homeowner or renter with a dedicated wall that can support a tall, leaning piece, and you want a single furniture item that can handle books, core, and a small wine collection without looking like a hodgepodge, this cabinet hits the mark. It's also a solid choice for anyone who values durability over a quick, low-cost fix. The sturdy, long-lasting wood means you won't be replacing the unit in a couple of years. People who enjoy a cohesive aesthetic, where the cabinet itself becomes a design statement rather than just storage, will appreciate the sleek lines and solid finish. On the flip side, skip this if you're on a strict budget, have limited wall space, or prefer a piece that you can move around frequently. The weight and size make it a semi-permanent fixture, so it's not ideal for a college dorm or a frequently rearranged apartment. Also, if you're looking for a full-scale wine cellar with temperature control, This isn't it, it only offers space for a small rack and relies on the ambient room temperature. For serious wine enthusiasts, a dedicated